Now we're going to go over division. Last week we were doing multiplication, now it's time to do its inverse. Now, one thing that students mess up a lot is they mess up how to divide using the standard algorithm. I know in the past you've explored things like partial product and you've made yourself models, but now we have to learn to be more efficient and use the standard algorithm. So some things that I want to make sure that we understand first of all is let's understand the terminology. A dividend, that's what's being divided. It's the number that we're actually breaking apart. The divisor, that's the thing doing the dividing. Okay? If I said I have 91 baseballs and 10 baseballs go into each box, 10 baseballs in a box is the divisor. The last thing is your quotient. Whenever we say the word quotient, we mean the answer. Okay? Now that you're starting to mature in your mathematical thinking, you're going to see division expressed different ways. One of the big ways that you'll see it this year, one that I'm kind of fond of when I give you tests and whatnot, is I like to express division as a fraction. When you see a fraction bar, or what you've seen in the past is as a fraction like this, a fraction bar means divide. 3 out of 4 can mean 3 divided by 4. In this case, 23 fourths is 23 divided by 4. I know what you're thinking, you're like, but that's a mixed number. Yeah, it is. And as we move towards fractions after division, we're really going to hit on this relationship. But for right now, I want you to definitely recognize that all division problems and their answers can be expressed in some kind of fraction form. We'll look at that in a little bit more later. The standard forms that you're more traditionally see is this one right here, the little division sign that kind of looks like the corner that we, in the past, we've called the house, or we've called the different like garages, or whatever your past teachers might have called it. And then the classic dividend, divisor, division sign. Okay? So let's jump right in there. Alright. The example that we're going to use is we're going to look at 239 divided by 4. Okay? Divisor, dividend. You can see it a couple different ways. Like I gave it to you, you might also see it with a fraction bar, 239 fourths, 239 divided by 4, and 239 divided by 4. Well, that's the same way. How we're going to use it is we're going to work it out in this standard look right here. I don't recommend trying to figure it out in your head. I don't recommend trying to figure it out in this form. Let's get its working form. Let's use it. Let's show our work. Let's not make simple, careless mistakes. The first thing that you always got to remember about dividing is keep it lined up, guys. The dividend goes on the inside. What we're breaking apart goes on the inside. The divisor goes on the outside. What we're looking for is how many times this divisor will go into the number. Now, division's a little bit different because when we multiply, we always start right to left. If I had 239 multiplied by 4, we start at the right and then we multiply to the left, right? That's not how division works. Division, we start with the biggest and we start breaking it apart. Does 4 go into the 200s place, into that 2 from the 200s place? No, not evenly. So let's look at 4 into the 100s place and the 10s together, 23. 4 into 23. Now you'll notice over here, I've put my work so that you can see it. I would like you to do the same thing. 4 goes into 23 5 times. 4 times 5 is 20. So I put the 5 up top. This is part of my quotient. You've got to line it up. The digit always goes above the last digit you are currently looking at. Subtract the 20, because 4 times 5 is 20. That leaves us 3. We bring down the 9. Now I got to look at 4 into 39, because that's what I have. 4 goes into 39 9 times for 36, but you'll see that I also went 4 times 10 to go up to 40, just to be sure. 4 times 9, I line it up, the last digit I'm looking at. 4 times 9 is 36, I subtract 3, and I have a remainder of 3 because I have nothing else to go. Now, we're going to look at dividing decimals later. This is just on how to do the standard algorithm for those of you guys that need a refresher. This quotient, or this answer, can be expressed 2 ways. It can be expressed as 59 remainder 3. But it also has a value that can be expressed as a mixed number. You have 59 holes, and then 3 out of 4 parts you need for the next hole. So it can also be expressed as 59 3/4. Because at 240, we can go in 60 times. This one I'm going to do with you guys. We got 675 divided by 9. As you can see, I've put it with its fraction bar form. I wanted you to get used to seeing it as a fraction. But you might also see it as 675 divided by 9. That's typical. Or you're going to see it in the working form that we're going to work with, 675 with the divisor on the outside. Now, like I just said, the first thing we look at is, does 9 go into 6? If 9 doesn't go into 6, let me look at 67 together. 9 times 8 equals 72, so I know it's not that big. 9 times 7 is 63. There we go. So make sure I line up 7, because 9 goes into 67 7 times. Above the last digit I'm looking at, subtract, bring down the 5. I'm not a fan of writing down steps for you to try to memorize. Let's just let it flow naturally and do what makes sense. Now I'm going to look at, well, I got 45, so now let's look at 9 into 45. That's a basic fact. 9 times 5 is 45. So I'm going to line my 5 up, I'm going to subtract 45, and in this case, I have nothing, I have no remainder. So my answer is 75. I'd like you to try a couple things tonight and be prepared for the discussion tomorrow. If you need to go back and look at the steps while you're doing these problems, you can rewatch the video. Always remember that. I want you to try 471 divided by 5. I want you to try 311 divided by 7. Divisor, dividend, divisor, dividend. Then I want you to try 714 divided by 2. This is the divisor, this is the dividend. Okay? We'll have the discussion tomorrow. See you then.